This is The Fit Mess with Zach and Jeremy.
What's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? This week we will answer that question and talk about how both can be incredibly beneficial to your overall well-being. We will do that with our guest. Her name is Stephanie Wagner. She is a board-certified health and wellness coach and a trainer and program specialist with Healthy Minds Innovations. They are the folks behind a new app that I absolutely love. We will talk about that as well as a program that they are offering to help you either start or restart your meditation practice. So Zach, we've talked a bunch about meditation on this show. It goes back to our very first episode was about meditation. And one of the reasons I'm really excited to talk about it this week is that there are so many apps that are available that can help you make meditation a regular practice, can teach you how to do it. The one I've been using lately from Healthy Minds Innovations is a bit of a game changer in this space. I've been using Headspace for a really long time, but the Healthy Minds app truly is a very educational tool when it comes to meditation. I love that it isn't repetitive. It truly is an educational experience. You not only get great meditations, but you get a bit of the science. You get these sort of mini podcasts in between meditations where you're really learning about the process and what it's doing for your brain.
Yeah. Do you have to sit still?
This is the other reason I love this app, because every time we've talked about this, you always mention that you cannot sit still, that you go crazy, the way your body reacts freaks you out. It has active meditations built in. So as soon as I saw that, I went, this is the perfect app for Zach. He'll finally start meditating because he doesn't have to just sit on a cushion. He can actually get up and do things.
Well, that kind of goes against my nature too, because that would mean I'd have to do things.
There is the doing things part. Yeah, that's the challenge.
That's always hard. Sitting still is hard. I mean, I think I'm just screwed.
You may be. It's possible. But I've been using this app for a few days now, and I'm somebody who, my life was changed by meditation, and I still struggle to get back on the cushion to make it a part of my routine. Instead, I do try and make, mindfulness more of my process, really just trying to pay attention in brief moments throughout the day to what it is I'm doing, instead of letting my thoughts lead me all over the place throughout the day. So this has been really great because I'm curious about the process, and it draws me in, and it makes me want to make meditation a part of my practice because it's a fun learning experience. So I can't recommend it enough, Zach. I really think you need to start diving in with the active meditation part.
I'll give it a shot. I mean, yoga is my meditation. And I can actually tell a difference in my mental attitude, my mindfulness when I'm not doing yoga, when I'm not actually meditating on a regular basis, due to the fact that I had to travel to Florida and then I was quarantined and all that. I haven't been to yoga in 3.5, 4 weeks now. Without that, I just feel like I'm waiting for the day to get over so I can go to bed and have coffee the next day, and then waiting for that day to get over so I can go to bed and have coffee the next day. And I mean, coffee is great. It's a really good reward for me, but
not enough to keep you going though.
But that, I'm not mindful of my day. I feel like I'm just running through it. Nothing, I'm not recognizing anything. And then I start over again. And that's without meditation in my life.
And it's funny you mentioned that. That's something that has really stood out to me really for the last few weeks, since this concept came up on an episode we did a while ago about the idea of all these things that we talk about implementing in your life to try and live a more fulfilling, happier life, whatever you're going for. I'm starting to notice more the things that I'm not using and the impact that they're having in my life, more than when I first started doing them. When I first started meditating, I saw a huge difference. When I started doing the keto diet and I lost a bunch of weight, saw the difference. Exercising every day, saw the difference. Now I've become really aware of the things that I've stopped doing and the way that my mind reacts and the way my body reacts. Maybe it's a bit of a rock bottom because I am now starting a new workout routine. I'm meditating more. And I think it is all based on the fact that I've been meditating really consistently for the last week or so, that it's provided this clarity to what I need to live the way I want to live.
Right. Well, you flipped it, right? So your normal before, the only way you could really go is to get better. And now your normal is better. And you feel it when you go the other way.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So the trick is to know that that's going to happen, because we can't always be perfect, but also catch it and not let it slide back so far that feeling like shit feels normal again.
Exactly. So how does this all work? How can meditation help you live a better life? We're going to find out with our guest. Her name is Stephanie Wagner. She is from Healthy Minds Innovations, and we talked to her about not only the Healthy Minds app, but why meditation is so important. And our conversation began with how meditation became a part of her life.
I actually started the path of meditation due to a lot of anxiety in my own life, a lot of unmanaged anxiety. And I found a real resonance with the practice, and I had been practicing for several years and found it to be just really beneficial to me. And yet there was something that sort of was like a little out of place in in my life, in that my physical body was not healthy and well. And yet I felt like my mind was quite healthy and well. And so there was this sort of point in my journey where I realized that I was really good at meditation sort of on the cushion, but I wasn't really bringing meditation into my daily life. And so I sort of went through this journey of aligning my practice and aligning my values around meditation, sort of in the way that I was treating my body and in the choices that I was actually making in my life. So meditation has just been a huge part of just both sort of the mental and emotional piece for me, but also in my physical journey of losing 80 pounds.
80 pounds. That's
Wow.
amazing.
Yes.
You did not lose that on the cushion. How did the meditation open the door to losing 80 pounds?
Yeah, so what I did was I started just sort of paying attention to my body in my daily life. I was so out of tune with my body. I wasn't listening to the way that my body felt in response to food. I wasn't listening to the way that my body felt from being so sedentary. And so I just sort of went into this journey of getting curious around sort of how could I do things differently? How could I explore tuning into my body with awareness, which is, of course, what we're doing in meditation. We're sort of tuning into and recognizing this innate awareness that exists within us. So how can I tune into my body differently and sort of listen to the inner wisdom of my body? So I started doing things like walking. I started walking every day and getting curious, gosh, what's it like to move my body? Do I feel differently energetically? How's my mood? How are my aches and pains? How is my sleep? Similarly, I applied the same sort of process to my relationship with food. So, we sort of become conditioned to eating the same kinds of foods, we eat the same kinds of portions, and we never question what we're doing. And so again, here I was just getting curious. What would it be like if I reduced my portion sizes? What would it be like if I tried eating healthier foods? What would my energy be like? What would my sleep be like? How would my body feel? And what I realized is that it just felt so good. It felt good. It felt, first of all, like an expression of what was important to me, an expression of my values. I felt like I was living in alignment with what was important to me. So that feels amazing. But then also when we, bring awareness to sort of the inner wisdom of our body, we learned things about what our body needs. And my body wanted movement. My body wanted nourishing food. My body didn't need to eat as much as I had been eating. And so all through this process of sort of curiosity and awareness and listening to my body, things started falling into place, and I started losing about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week just from sort of tuning in.
That's amazing. You mentioned anxiety, and in doing a little bit of research on you, I saw a quote on Facebook that you had put up that said, "Anxiety is no longer my chronic state of being." And
Yeah.
I nearly teared up on that because me and anxiety are best friends. But all of those things that you just talked about, it seems like it was very much a snowball. Like one thing maybe led to another and another and another. Did your anxiety just go away overnight, or did it just reduce a little bit the more the snowball got bigger? How did that happen for you?
Yeah, that is such a good question. And I think a really important point. I think when I started meditating that I had this expectation that it would just be the antidote to all my anxiety, that it would be something that I could just apply and that the anxiety would go away. And I spent years of practice and feeling the benefits of practice, and yet still feeling like I had anxiety. And yet it wasn't like there was a point in time where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm no longer anxious. But then I look back to myself, 15 years ago, 17 years ago, when I first started meditating, and I'm like a different person. But there wasn't really just a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, here I am, I've arrived. It was really, I think, more of what you're speaking about. It's that snowball effect. There are real benefits to a consistent practice. I think it's about getting to know yourself better, about, for me, having a healthier relationship with the anxiety. So often when we have a difficult emotion like anxiety, we have so much internal resistance. We just want to push it away. And that in trying to push it away, it just sort of turns up the volume on the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this kind of like pithy formula, that you oftentimes hear thrown around, which is that suffering equals pain times resistance. And that's true. The more you sort of resist it, the bigger it got for me. And so through again, like this process of curiosity, through allowing the anxiety to be there without all of that inner resistance, for me, what that did is it created some space in my experience, some acceptance, some allowing, and that really helped me to transform my relationship with anxiety in a way in which I feel like now I just have normal situational anxiety. I don't have that sort of chronic, like sort of low level or even high level anxiety that I was having at the time.
Meditation is so interesting. We've talked about it literally since day one of this show. Our first episode was about meditation, and we've talked to some of the people that you've trained with on this show. It's such a challenging thing to incorporate into our lives, especially in the culture that we are entrenched in, where we're constantly, even in lockdown, even in COVID, we're constantly on the go, whether it's getting our kids online for school, logging into the meeting that we're 5 minutes late for, whatever it is. How do we make this a part of our life? And then how does it transition from that practice to a lifestyle of mindfulness, of incorporating that same awareness, that same curiosity into each moment of our day?
Yeah, that's again a really great question. So I think a couple of things are coming to mind around that. So the first thing is, having a regular meditation practice where you're sort of working more formally, I'll say, like you're setting time aside, whether it's, 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day is really useful, because you get an experience of connecting with these qualities that we're trying to nurture, these qualities of awareness and kindness and compassion. And so you kind of get like a taste of that in a more sort of formal sense. But there are ways that you can do that beyond sort of what people think of traditionally as sitting meditation. And so that's where I think the key is that, people oftentimes come to meditation thinking, I can't do this. I can't sit still. I'm too active. My mind is too busy. And so there are actually other ways to practice beyond sort of that traditional, 5 minutes or 10 minutes of sitting on a meditation cushion a day. There are ways that you can actually practice in more of an active sense. So you can actually practice meditation while you're doing some sort of light repetitive activity. In the Healthy Minds program that I worked for, we have a type of meditation that's called an active practice. So these are practices actually that can be done while you're doing things like walking, like house cleaning, gardening, some sort of like light repetitive activity. And so these are really great ways to be able to sort of work with people's preferences around being active versus sitting. And so there is real benefit, I will say, in sort of connecting with these qualities in a more formal way, whether you're doing a seated or an active practice. Now, that said, I mean, the whole point of meditation is to actually bring forth these qualities into our day-to-day lives. And so there are ways that you can do this quite simply. You can actually choose some part of your everyday routine. Let's say getting onto Zoom meetings is something that you're doing regularly throughout the day. So you set the intention at the beginning of the day that each time I log into a Zoom meeting, I'm going to practice taking 3 mindful intentional breaths. And so then you begin connecting with awareness, sort of short moments throughout the day. And you just continue to do this, and you can choose different activities, but there will be a point where awareness will be there without you actually having to set the intention to have it be tied to something like a Zoom meeting. It's like you become so connected to the practice that it just sort of shows up spontaneously throughout your day, so that you are connected to kindness, you are connected to compassion and awareness as a part of just the way in which you're being in the world. But it does take some training. Like you have to train your mind in these qualities, and to sort of connect with them in a different way. And so that's where I feel like there's like a really nice balance between doing it in sort of more of a formal way and then doing it in your daily life.
I want to ask, very specifically, there's meditation and there's mindfulness, and they're not the same thing, right? How are they different? How do we differentiate those two?
So mindfulness more is about sort of being familiar with what's going on in your own mind. So you're aware of your thoughts, you're aware of your emotions, you're aware of where your mind is directed, you're aware of, sensations in the body, senses, and then you'll also notice when your mind is no longer present and aware. You notice distraction in that moment. When you notice distraction is when you're actually sort of reconnected with awareness. So mindfulness is sort of the skill that allows us to sort of know what's going on with our own mind and know when we're distracted versus when we're present and aware. So meditation more broadly, I would say, is just sort of the toolbox and the techniques and the way in which we train the mind, sort of similar to the way that we would like train our muscles at the gym, right? We lift weights for certain muscle groups. We lift weights for biceps and triceps. Similarly, when we're training our mind, mindfulness is just one skill that we're training. We train other things like attention and self-awareness and kindness and compassion. And so there's like a whole more holistic view of the qualities and the skills that we're training in beyond just mindfulness.
Speaking of tools, Healthy Minds Innovations has a terrific tool that is an app that can really help teach you how to meditate. And I want to talk about that in a second, but I wanted to jump in quickly on the awareness part, because a point where I get stuck, and I'm currently stuck in an incredibly stressful situation, is I can become very aware of, I know why I feel the way I do. I know why I'm letting these problems interfere with the way I make decisions, but taking the action step is where I've been stuck lately. Do you find that people have a hard time where they can say, I know exactly why I feel the way I do. I know exactly what's causing all of this. I don't know what to do with it. How do you sort of get over that hurdle?
Is there any way that you'd be willing to like give me an actual example of that? Because I think that would help me.
Yeah. So for example, I mentioned before we started recording that my family is sort of in the middle of trying to move, and I'm pre-grieving the leaving my house, handing the keys over to somebody else, all the stress and trauma that it's going to cause for my kids to live somewhere where they don't know anybody. I'm aware of all of it, but I can't seem to do anything about it. I'm still experiencing that grief and still just sort of feeling stuck. And I don't know how to transition the awareness to action to make it better, or to, I guess, ease the suffering.
Yeah, so I think, this is where insight can become really useful. So insight is another dimension of well-being and the Healthy Minds model of well-being. I think just to set the framework, we have 4 dimensions of well-being that we recognize in our scientific framework, which is awareness, connection, insight, and purpose. And so insight is a way in which we can actually begin to sort of get curious around things like our thoughts, our beliefs, our expectations, our assumptions. And we begin to just see sort of how these things are bubbling underneath our experience. We get curious about them. We begin to see them more clearly, sort of in the light of conscious awareness. And so I guess what I would encourage you to do is to sort of maybe look at what are some of the beliefs that you have about the move, about, your kids' ability to adapt or whatever is sort of playing a part in your anxiety, and just to sort of say, gosh, what beliefs do I hold here? Are these beliefs actually true? Is there another way that someone could see this? You could even actually try and take the perspective of someone who you think is very wise. Like if you had a wise mentor who were seeing the situation from the outside, like what would they see? And then just kind of see if you've got some expectations or some assumptions about this situation that are playing a role in the way that you're showing up, in a way and playing a role in your stuckness. And through that curiosity and sort of seeing some of those beliefs, it may sort of loosen up and allow you to see things in a different way that may allow you to actually have some movement there. I think another way to look at it would be through the lens of values. So there is a way in which we can sort of tackle life's challenges, mundane or sort of those bigger things in life, by sort of getting clear around what's important to us and what's meaningful to us, and bringing those values to the forefront of our mind as we move into trying to deal with something, whether it's doing the dishes, whether it's moving your house, whether it's renovating your house, and just seeing if there's a way in which, gosh, can I bring forth this value into this situation, and how might my perspective change as I enter into this move?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I do feel like it is something where I haven't perhaps gone deep enough. And part of the way I'm trying to get there is the app that I mentioned. I love this app. There are tons of options for apps to learn about meditation. One of the bigger ones, I probably shouldn't mention the name, but Headspace is kind of the most well-known meditation app. One of my frustrations with them or with that app has been how sort of repetitive it is. I don't feel like you can really grow with that app because it's all very repetitive. What I love about what you guys have done is it sort of combines like a podcast. It's an educational tool. It teaches you different methods very early on that are very easy to grasp. And it's so much more of a journey, and I feel more drawn to come back every day and do it because there's some new layer rather than just, we're going to just do that again. Is that sort of by design? Is it sort of designed to help someone learn how to meditate and how to implement it in their lives?
Yes, so it is definitely exactly designed the way that you're speaking about it. It is a step-by-step journey to train the mind in qualities that are associated with well-being. And so everything that you're learning in the app is rooted in the Healthy Minds framework. This is a framework of well-being that I mentioned before. It has 4 different dimensions: awareness, connection, insight, and purpose. And within each of these dimensions of well-being, there's sort of some nuances, some different skills that you're learning. But the app is set up in a way in which there are these sort of like small style podcasts that are about 5 to 7 minutes in length. And you learn about a little bit about well-being and the science of meditation and the science of well-being. And then you have these opportunities really to train in the skills through the guided meditations. And so the guided meditations are customizable. You can choose anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes in length. You can choose a male or a female speaker. You can choose seated or active practice. So there really is something there. I feel like for anybody, I really do believe that anybody can meditate. And there are a lot of options within the app to make that easier for you. And we also, have live training programs as well outside of the app that help people to learn how to meditate, to start a meditation habit, knowing that, consistency is such an important part of that. And so we're launching a program actually in mid-April that's a Kickstarter to a healthy mind, which is really designed to help people develop a meditation habit through going through 30 days of meditation. And they're facilitated step by step along the way through live training classes, through meditation coaching, through the use of the app. And so it's just, so we have both the app as well as live training offerings that help to support people in their journey.
That's awesome. The live training, I think that's what I need. I've tried the apps, like the motivation to click play every day is always interesting for me because I'm not being held accountable by anyone else. So the live training, I love that you've got for the people who are self-motivated and the people who are need that external motivation. I think that's great that you've got something for both sides. So can you say a little bit more about that 30-day program?
Yeah. So basically, in the 30-day program, what we do is we explore one of the dimensions of well being each week. So, week one, we'll spend learning about awareness, two, connection, three, insight, and four, purpose. And so each week, basically, you'll be committing to doing some form of practice a day. And then there will be days throughout the week as well where you'll be listening to some of those more podcast style lessons. Now, in addition, we have a framework for developing a habit. And so each week we basically dive into some of the strategies to help people form a habit. And each week we take a little bit of a different perspective. But this habit formation model is called PARA. And PARA is an acronym that stands for plan, act, reflect, and adjust. And so each week we help people sort of create plans that work within the circumstances of their lives, be able to sort of overcome obstacles to habit formation, to be able to sort of change habits based on changing circumstances in life. And so each week we take a significant portion of this live training and dedicate it to the habit formation piece, knowing that really the benefits of meditation are seen the most prominently when you do establish a regular, consistent practice.
About that practice, one of the questions I see in a lot of the online groups about meditation, there's always, how long? Should I do it before work? Should I do it after work? Can I do it while I'm, there's so many questions. And I always tell people there's really no wrong way to do it. There's a million right ways to do it, but there's not really a wrong way as long as whatever you're doing has all of your attention. I think it was, I read something on your website. The best meditation is the one that you're going to do all the time. It seems really simple, but people, I think, have this inflated image of what meditating is. You've got to, be in a robe on a cushion in a perfectly silent room with 6 candles facing the correct direction. It seems like it's this big thing, but it doesn't have to be, right?
Right. It does not have to be a big deal. And, whenever someone is starting a practice, I recommend starting with what feels realistic for your schedule. I say start small and build confidence from there. So for some people, choosing a 5-minute practice from the app, if you do better with guided meditations, start there. And then gradually, as you develop consistency and confidence, you can sort of broaden your practice from there. But in terms of, some of the nuances around when you're actually practicing, it really is largely dependent on the individual. So if you're the kind of person that's a morning person, you've got space in your morning to meditate, you've got an established routine that allows you to have space to meditate in the morning, then meditating in the morning is probably going to work best for you. But if you're the person who snoozes their alarm and has a lot of difficulty being awake in the morning and feels very sluggish, morning time probably isn't the best for you. So, I always think about developing a habit as being a process of getting curious and getting to know yourself better, because what I find is that, we set forth a plan that we think is going to be the thing. I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes every morning, and this is going to be the thing that's going to work for me. And then we continue to try and do a plan that for some never takes root. And we get frustrated and we're like, oh, we can't do this. So rather than adjusting, so when you look at that PARA habit formation model, adjust is a part of developing the habit. We're actually looking at, okay, when am I successful? When am I not successful? And making adjustments to when we're practicing and how long we're practicing, sort of based on those insights that we're learning about ourselves. So, it really is a very individual journey, but to notice any tendency that, a person might have to be self-critical or judgmental or going into that shame spiral of, oh, I can't do it and I'm a bad person. It's not about that. It's about holding yourself with compassion, trying to see that, your aspiration to meditate is coming from a really kind of important, nurturing, nourishing place. You want well-being. It's coming from this really, this intention to be kind to yourself. And so through being compassionate for any missteps along the way, it's just saying, hey, I know that change is hard. I'm doing my best. I'm going to try again and again and again. And so just having some, diligence and trying different ways to practice and just seeing if you can do that for yourself. But, I think that you'll see benefits of meditation from the consistency. There's research out there that shows benefits of doing like 30 minutes of compassion practice a day, or 30 minutes of a kindness or awareness practice a day. So but I think it really is about it's about the consistency. And so just committing to trying to do it like 5 to 10 minutes a day, start small, start realistic, and then even just seeing for yourself. So the science says one thing, right? But like what do you feel like it's doing for you? Are you feeling like it's giving you some resourcefulness to like be the best version of yourself? Do you feel like you're able to come into those moments where you might be emotionally triggered and actually have some resilience? Do you feel like you're able to respond with some generosity, with some kindness, some compassion, and just like really getting curious around what you feel like the practice is actually doing for yourself in your own lived experience? And then you can make decisions around whether or not it's even something that you want to do, and how often and how long you feel like you need to practice for your own well-being and for your own benefit.
I've always had trouble sitting down to meditate. I'm a moving meditator. That's why I love yoga. And the reason being is, my anxiety runs so hot that when I do stop moving, my bodily sensations drive me insane. So I can't even sit still. On paper, it's easy to do, but for the person sitting down to meditate, this is a bit of a struggle for a lot of people to get into these habits. What would you say would be, your number one tip for somebody who has tried meditation, didn't like it? It was, a negative experience. Do you have like one or two tips for how to make that an easier transition for people?
Yeah. I think what I would say is, first of all, to look at your expectations around meditation. I think oftentimes the reason why people have such a strong negative initial response is because they expect that meditation is going to be this sort of experience where they don't have any thoughts in their mind. And so then they feel like they're not successful when they have thoughts. And then they're like, oh, I can't do this. I have too many thoughts. And so actually what we're doing is we're just actually during meditation, we're cultivating awareness of things like thoughts. Like we can see thoughts as thoughts. We can see that the thoughts are comprised oftentimes of like images or words in the mind. We can, become aware of those uncomfortable physical sensations that you're talking about related to anxiety. And we can see that what oftentimes on the outside feels like a solid fixed experience actually has nuances, like the sensations are changing and moving, and they're changing in intensity. And so I think part of it is just sort of looking at, gosh, what am I expecting from a meditation practice? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, if there's so many different styles of practice, a million different meditation techniques. I mean, the Healthy Minds program has a year's worth of content, all different practices in there. So if there was one style that didn't work for you, then try something else. Try a different technique. Maybe if you tried seated practice and it didn't work for you, try an active practice and just experiment and enter into it with an experimentation mentality. And I know I've used the word curiosity a lot, but I just feel really strongly about curiosity as like a healthy quality to cultivate, getting curious around what it might be like to practice in different ways, using different techniques, and try it differently. So I think expectations and then sort of curiosity and changing it up and trying something else.
That's something that I love about the app, is that it does incorporate active meditation. It's not just about sitting quietly, and it's really open to a lot of different styles. So as we wrap up here, where can we learn more about both the app and the not retreat, but what's the
Kickstarter program?
The Kickstarter program. Yes. Where can we learn more about both of those?
Okay, so a Healthy Minds program, you can download our free app. in the App Store. So Healthy Minds program. The Kickstarter program, you can check out hminnovations.org. And we have an events page. And we're actually offering listeners of the Fit Mess a wonderful discount. So we're offering a $50 discount to your listeners. And the podcast discount
promo code.
Oh my gosh, what is wrong?
That's okay.
Fit Mess, all one word. And so, yeah, and this is, of course, a program that's really designed for beginner meditators or people that maybe have struggled with creating a meditation habit that might be interested in gaining that kind of live support from a live cohort of learners through, working with me as the meditation coach and through just giving it a try to see if this can be something that they'll experience some benefit from. So hminnovations.org, Healthy Minds program app, downloadable at the App Store. And of course, we're on social media. We've got a YouTube channel where we've got tons of guided meditations. We offer live guided meditation on YouTube and on our Facebook page every Monday in Spanish and every Thursday in English. So lots of opportunities to connect with us at Healthy Minds.
That was Stephanie Wagner from Healthy Minds Innovations. All of those links she just mentioned are on our show notes for this episode at thefitmess.com.
So we've talked with so many people about meditation and so many different ways to do it. And there's no wrong way, but there's so many ways that you can keep trying. And I think it's, for me anyway, it's so important for my life that if you can't find a way to meditate, keep trying the next and the next and the next. And this one is really great to try. I mean, it's a really slightly different approach. And I think it's really workable by people who don't necessarily like sitting and meditating, like me.
We made a key distinction in that interview about the difference between mindfulness and meditation. Meditation, I think, it simply is sort of the formal practice of training your mind to live more mindfully. And that's where, like I said, I've sort of let my meditation practice fall aside, but I've still tried to be mindful at several points throughout the day. If I have to do the laundry or put things away or like whatever, it generally is a thing I don't want to be doing. And I will try to give it all of my attention because otherwise I do follow the thoughts of, this fucking sucks. Why do I have to do this every day? I hate doing this so much. And it just becomes this horrible experience and it makes it so much bigger and worse than it needs to be. Where when it's just, if it is putting laundry away, for example, if I'm just focusing on put this shirt in the drawer, I'm putting these socks in the drawer, like it just removes any of the judgment on the thing and makes it so much less painful. And that's where, if you can do that for the 2 or 3 minutes that horrible task that you hate doing so much, if you can do that, it starts to creep into other aspects of your life.
It's funny you mention it like that because I was just thinking that even just putting laundry away mindfully, I can't remember the last time I actually did put laundry away. Yet I have a basket of clean clothes at the foot of my bed all the time.
Because it sits there begging you to do something about it. I hate doing that. I'm not going to do it.
I might have to try it now, though.
Right. Just remove the judgment and just go, okay, I'm holding a shirt. It's going in the drawer. I'm holding socks. They're going in the drawer.
My key motivation, like laundry-wise, though, this is a different topic. Laundry-wise, my key motivation in putting my laundry away in the past was to make sure that my shirts that I had to wear to work were not wrinkled.
Right.
Remove that variable and I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I will wear wrinkly shirts all day. I'll go to the grocery store in them. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
and when I don't put laundry away.
When you're wearing the same clothes for 4 days, the amount of laundry has suddenly gone way down as well.
Exactly. I might be on day 5 here.
Right. We might need to do an entire episode on laundry. This seems to be a sticking point for both of us. And I don't even do it that much. That's the thing. Like, so, my wife who's been out of work for months, she's kind of picked up the homemaker role. So she's doing a lot of the laundry and the dishes and that sort of thing. I'm not even doing it that much. And I hate it so much that is the thing that pops into my head that like, I got to do that.
Oh no, it's so bad that I looked at the laundry basket last weekend and I went, I can put away the laundry. And then I looked over and I was like, or I could replace those outlets and do some electrical work. Right. And I chose the electrical work.
It sucks. Never do laundry. If you take one thing away from this episode, never do the laundry, I think is the point that's
But
being
if you
made.
are going to do it, try and do it mindfully.
All right. Well, enough of that. If you do want to find out more about the Kickstarter program that Stephanie mentioned, or the app or any of that, there are links on our website, thefitmess.com. While you're there, please sign up for the newsletter so you never miss a thing related to the episode. And while you're there, check out our affiliates page where you can find links to amazing products like the Athletic Brewing Company, non-alcoholic beers, Daily Habit CBD, and Bulletproof Coffee. Just some of the tools in our toolbox that we try to use as often as possible to live a happier and healthier life. And that will do it for this episode this week. Thanks so much for listening. We will be back next Wednesday with a brand new episode at thefitmess.com.
See everyone. I'm going to go avoid laundry.
I'm going to go do anything but laundry.
Yes.
We know this podcast is amazing and does not seem to lack anything, but we do need a legal disclaimer. Jeremy and Zach are not doctors. They do not play them on the internet, and even if they did play them on the internet, they would be really bad at it. Please consult your physician prior to implementing any changes that you heard on this podcast. The listener assumes that Jeremy and Zach do not know what they are talking about and that you will do your own research on the topics talked about on this podcast.